All right, I think we are ready to start the Sacramento Local Agency Formation Commission LAFCo meeting for February 2020. Welcome to my colleagues and Happy New Year to everyone. Mr. Lockhart, do we have some items we need to read to start the meeting? Or Ms. Thorpe?
Diane does.
Let's do the roll call. Commissioner Peters?
Here.
Liebig? Here. Murphy? Here. Ashby?
Here.
Frost? Here. Moore? Here. Thank you. We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. I think we usually do we do the Pledge of Allegiance at this board too? All right. Ms. Frost, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Supervisor Frost. Appreciate that.
And then we have the Metro Cable announcement.
Okay.
There. It should be there in front of you.
Oh, you want me to do this? Okay.
Yes, please.
All right. This meeting of the Local Agency Formation Commission is cablecast live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel, on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. The meeting is also webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will be repeated Sunday, February 9th at 9 a.m. and again Monday, February 10th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14. This meeting is also closed caption. We ask that you please turn off any cell phones or noise-making devices. Speaker slips are located in the back of the room on the table up there. If you'd like to fill it out, bring it up front to the podium, give it to the clerk, and we will call you up. That is it for our rules of engagement. We have a pretty quick agenda tonight. We think we'll be done in about an hour. So let's get started.
Okay, first we have the consent calendar, items 1 through 3.
I'll move consent.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? We're going to use our voting system here. I'm sure this is very controversial. Yeah. All right. There we go.
How do we do?
Wonderful, thank you.
Charlie Moore is here.
Miss Moore, would you like to be recorded as a yes on that?
I would like to be recorded as abstain since I wasn't here.
Okay, no problem. We will note that in the record. Thank you very much. Also, note that Miss Aquino has joined us. Thank you. All right. I should have mentioned too that I didn't have any public people signed up for public comment. Did you have anyone signed up for public comment?
Do not have any public comment slips.
Yep, I don't either, so if some come up, we'll check back in there. All right, done with consent, moving to presentations.
Good evening, Chair, members of the commission. This evening, we have a presentation for your commission. This is part of the ongoing efforts on the part of your staff on behalf of your commission to bring regional efforts that may touch upon topics that come before your commission in reviewing projects, to keep you informed of what other folks may be thinking about, maybe doing out there. This evening we have Dan York. He's the general manager for Sacramento Suburban Water District. Sac Suburban is taking the lead role in what's being coined the Sacramento Region Water Utility Collaboration Integration Study. I think their first task may be to shorten that name. They have 7 districts, including the city of Folsom, are participating in this at this point. They're in the process. I believe they may have gone through completed their RFP process, and they may have the collaboration may have found themselves a consultant at this time. The idea is just to check on operations, compare operations among the different cultures, the different districts, the different purveyors, their resources. Some are groundwater, some are surface water, some are commingled. They have some shared interest in the sense that many of them were a result of post-World War II fairly rapid development north of the American River. So a lot of their infrastructure has pretty much followed the same kind of timeline as far as aging and timing out for replacement, that sort of thing. So as I understand it, and certainly it'd be more clear through the presentation, pretty much everything's on the table for these participants. And as a result of that, the consultant will be making a report back to those 7 stakeholders. With that, I'd like to introduce or turn it over to Dan. And at the close of the presentation, any questions your commission may have.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity this evening to present this effort we're doing regionally. I don't know if I got this button correct here. There we go. There you go. So a little background, if you're familiar. So in Sacramento County, there's actually, believe it or not, 24 water agencies that provide potable water service to the customers in Sacramento. And one of those consolidation efforts originally was back in 2002 when actually Arcade Water District and Northridge Water District merged to form Sac Suburban Water District. We're probably one of the largest agencies in the area right now. Back in 2013, Sac Suburban started talking discussions with San Juan Water District, who treats surface water from Folsom Lake, on a merger. That merger was going to analyze whether we can collaborate, integrate efforts, or actually consolidate into one agency. So we had 2 phases. Went to the first one. They found no big issues there, so we moved on to the second phase. A lot of work was done in that phase. We didn't get down to the weeds yet as far as retirement issues or budgetary issues or infrastructure issues. We started the political part of it. At the June 2015 board meeting, what happened, I'm a firm believer on timing is everything. We started in 2013, like I said, a lot of effort, got into 2015. What happened in 2015? The drought. So we're at a board meeting and we started side by side comparing the 2 agencies as far as our systems, finances, and our water supplies. San Juan is 100% service water. Sac Suburban, we're a conjunctive use program. We have, our main supply is groundwater, but we also have service water contract rights through PCWA and also City of Sacramento. So at a board meeting, one of our board members asked our board president what their backup water supply was, because at the time, water at Folsom was almost gone. They had no backup supply, 0. And so it got into the political aspect of it where our board thought that they just wanted us for a water supply. So that effort pretty much went south. As well, there were some concerns. San Juan provides wholesale water to Fair Oaks Water District and Citrus Heights Water District. And they had concerns if we merged that we'd take away some of their water supply from the Folsom Lake. So our board ceased the efforts in consolidation and directed staff to meet with Fair Oaks and Citrus Heights Water Districts to get their concerns. Staff did that. So that part was over. In 2018, so we got the right one. Yeah, 2018, the San Juan board directed their general manager to write a letter to me and our board to see if we wanted to reconvene these discussions in consolidation. So our board wanted to continue, so they developed a 2x2. 2x2 is basically 2 directors from their board and 2 from ours, and the 2 general managers to start discussing any efforts. So through that, they basically decided to have the 2 general managers of Sac Suburban and San Juan contact the other agencies in the region to see if they would like to participate in this discussion, with focus more on collaboration, integration, and having the consolidation discussion kind of way at the far end of it. So the task was to get hold of the other general managers, so we did that. And in that effort, we had 9 initially who wanted to participate. So the general managers of each district started meeting. It was a little challenging at first because they kept focusing on the consolidation aspect of it. They were trying to focus them on the collaboration and integration part of it. So following discussions, 2 of those agencies, Fair Oaks Water District and Orangeville Water Company, chose not to participate. So we continue to move forward. This here is a spreadsheet kind of shows the agencies who are participating right now. You got Carmichael Water District, Citrus Heights, City of Folsom, Del Paso Manor Water District, Rio and Alberta Community Water District, Sac Suburban, and San Juan. And just a quick overview. I got the spreadsheet from our consultant, so I'm not sure how accurate it really is. I didn't check it, but it kind of goes by number of connections, population served, their annual revenues, outstanding debt, and kind of their capital improvement plans, as well as their credit ratings. So you can see it's as small as 1,600 from Del Paso, as high as 47,000 for Sac Suburban. As I mentioned, clear to the right, you'll see that San Juan has 10,000 retail customers, but they provide water to both Cedar Sites and Fair Oaks and Orangeville, which the total is about 33,000 there. So we developed the request for proposal. The direction from our boards was actually to find consultants who have experience in consolidation studies. So we located 7 consulting firms, sent it out, and we ended up with 5 who submitted a response. Out of those 5, the general managers met, and we chose 4 to be interviewed, which we interviewed on December 17th. And we got down to 1 consulting firm, Ralph Tellis consulting firm. We've moved forward with that consultant, and we're actually right now in final discussions with them to finalize the scope of work and get the cost for the proposal. So in this proposal, there's basically the work activities, and after each work activity, basically, we're going to, in between those, we're going to meet with the general manager and 2 board members of each agency to provide them information on the findings of each work activities. And if you can read all 3 of these, basically it's going to be a analysis of all the agencies, what they've done, what they've been doing, what they have not been doing, and so forth. But it's going to be a report card. In addition to that, it's also going to find out if there's any opportunities for agencies to commingle and integrate some practices. For example, Sac Suburban, we spend about $9 million a year replacing our infrastructure. So we buy a lot of pipe. So if another district wants to buy pipe, they can join our little bandwagon to help get the discounted price. So there's opportunities like that. Staffing is a little more of a challenge, but if there's ways we can save money, or opportunities to share water supplies, as I mentioned, as Don mentioned, there's both surface water and groundwater purveyors. So right now the effort's $175,000. We had actually anticipated about $250,000 for the effort. Initially, it was a little challenging as well to find out how we're going to pay for this, because you have the really small agencies who don't have a large budget. So we finally agreed to get the cost analysis by each agency's operating budget. So that way it kind of minimizes the cost for the smaller agencies. So we're thinking it's going to take about 9 months for this study to be completed. The first part will be collaboration integration. There are 2 agencies who are very adamant that they will not participate in the consolidation aspect of it. And that's City of Folsom, of course, because they're a city, they can't consolidate. And the Rio Grande Alberta Community Water District has chosen, they at this point do not want to discuss consolidation. So we're at that point there. In the meantime, and just to know, John Lenahan, he's the board president of the El Paso Mountain Water District. He's present this evening. Unfortunately, in May of last year, they had 4 employees. 3 of those employees left, resigned or retired on the same day, which left them 1 operator. I was including the general manager as well. So I've been working very closely with Mr. Lenahan. The 2 districts back in 2010 actually agreed to have a mutual aid agreement. It wasn't really focused on this type of aid. It's more for emergency water supply for a few days here and there. But we went ahead, Sac Suburban and Del Paso decided we're going to go ahead and activate that mutual aid agreement. So we've been assisting Del Paso Mountain Water District in that aspect of it. We recently approved, I think you should be signing it probably, or I've already signed it, an operational service agreement that actually covers labor and equipment and issues like that. So it pertains more to this aspect of the assistance, which that agreement will expire in about 6 months, but we'll reanalyze it if the issue continues. So Del Paso Mountain Water District issued a letter to Sac Suburban actually to start discussing a 2x2 earlier than this collaboration effort. So our board approved it. Their board approved it, I think last evening. Mr. Lanahan named his 2 board members for that committee, which he's one of them. So I'm going to work on getting an agenda out and getting the meeting scheduled fairly quickly so we can start the discussions. And those, again, are the same thing. It's collaboration, integration, and possibly up to consolidation. So it'll be a continuing effort there. So, I want to give the agencies who are participating a lot of credit because, as I mentioned, when you start talking consolidation, a lot of that is the governance issues, and typically general managers don't like to hear that word because if somebody consolidates, the two positions that go away right away is a general manager and an attorney. So I want to give credit to all these agencies for participating in this effort.
Okay, thank you for that presentation. Very thorough. We have a couple of members who have already put their names in the queue to speak, so hang out there with us for a second. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. Supervisor Peters?
Thank you. Hi, Dan.
Hi, how you doing?
Thanks for letting me use your conference room
Yes.
often. Could you go back to the slide on Del Paso Manor?
Yes.
I had a couple questions there. If does it have a full board now?
Yes. Yeah, they actually
More
appointed.
than just one?
He's John's the board president, and they have 5 board members, and they just appointed one. You want to talk on that, on the Andy Ping?
Okay, so the mutual aid was for employees?
Yes, to keep their system
People
operating.
to run the
Yes.
district, okay.
Yeah.
That pretty much answers my question. I thought if they didn't have board members, I don't know how they're conducting business. Thank you.
Yeah, you actually, for state of California, you have to have at least one operator certified and named the chief operator to
Yeah.
run the system.
Yeah. Well, the LAFCo is doing a municipal service review of the water district too. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else, Supervisor Peters?
No,
Okay.
not at the moment.
All right. Supervisor Frost?
Hi, hi Dan.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
I wonder, are we looking toward a merger or a collaborative agreement between everyone with this? I just want to make sure I understand it. I remember back in 2013 and 2015 when we were having those conversations around San Juan is wholesale. Will water rates go up for San Juan rate payers? How are you going to merge? How are you going to manage all that?
Correct.
So I just wanted to understand the end goal of all of it.
Yeah. I think, thank you. I think the first part is a lot of the agencies are very adamant. They want to do a collaboration integration part first to see if we can do things without merging. But the end goal is there's a couple agencies who it's kind of a pull between the board members because it does take at least 3 votes of the 5 board members to vote for it. But these board members who are for consolidation would rather see the collaboration effort first and then make a decision. And those could combine together to make a decision on that part there. But nobody's really saying consolidation right now. Again,
They're not ready to have that yet.
Correct.
That conversation yet.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
There was one slide in your PowerPoint that I don't see in the packet, and I was wondering if we could get the copy of the white page that had all the water districts listed.
Oh yes, I can forward it to you.
Oh,
Yeah.
great,
Their
thanks.
budgets and revenues.
Yeah, it was
Mhm.
just the size of them. It's good information.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll forward that to Don. Yeah.
I think she wanted a full-size one so she could.
Yeah, just that one page, right?
If you like also, I didn't do it for the slide, I apologize, but I typically have a map that shows the region and it names them. I can send that as well because it's a good visual to show all the agencies, how close they are as far as adjacent to
I think we
each other.
got that. Is that that?
Oh, perfect, okay,
Yeah,
yes.
we got that. I just didn't
Great.
did everyone else get that?
It only has a small slide on the slide.
Oh, well,
right there, but
I
that's
can't even
too-
read that. Oh, that's what you meant. I couldn't read any of this.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
I figured, okay, I'll wait till I get there.
Okay, thank you very much.
you.
Those are all the questions that we have. Thank you. Oh, you want to? Hold on one second. All right, Tim, go ahead.
Good evening. Just a question. Since your water district is mostly in conjunctive use, and you mentioned that San Juan is primarily surface water, if this consolidation does happen, do you have a ballpark of what the amount of surface water versus groundwater or other sources that this combined district would be made up of?
Oh, you mean total in acre feet or just
Just percentage-wise ballpark.
percentage-wise? Oh. Let me, instead of guessing, can I get back to you on that one?
That's fine.
Because it's a very good question, and that's a lot of the questions that other agencies have, because San Juan has different types of service water rights, pre-1914, post-1914, and so it's how you use those gets real critical, so we have to figure that out. But
Yeah, if you could get back to me.
Yeah, I will.
Just as my curiosity.
perfect, yeah.
Thank you.
Always better than guessing.
Yeah.
Good idea. All right, the longer you stay, the more names you get in the queue here. Okay, go ahead. Ms. Aquino.
That brought up a question for me. Do each of these agencies have their own water rights? And how does that, what happens if somebody were to consolidate?
Yes. So let me go real quick on that spreadsheet. So Carmichael has both groundwater and surface water, but they're mostly surface water. Citrus Heights has groundwater, and they receive surface water from Folsom. City of Folsom is all surface water. Del Paso is all groundwater. Reland is all groundwater. Again, we're conjunctive use. We have two sources. And then San Juan is all surface water. And then not on the list was Fair Oaks before. They're also a combination of groundwater and surface water. So if you consolidate, surface water is really specific to the agency. So you have to go back to the state and get it re-permitted to these the new system boundaries. So groundwater, there's no stipulations, at least right now. So there is a lot of effort to get that back to the state for permitting.
Okay. Good. All right. Lindsay, you're up.
In regards to Sigma, is that a focus of the collaborative study in how the agencies are looking at managing within the North American subbasin? Is that going to be a topic of discussion, or is every agency kind of interdependent right now?
They're interdependent right now, but we all belong to Sacramento Groundwater Authority, who that started back in the early 2000s. And again, if another graph I could show you. The basin back since 1940 up to 1989 was depleting about 1.5 feet a year.
Right.
And when Sac Suburban began its conjunctive use program, that graph changed and went back up. So right now the basin's healthy, but that is a concern, and that's one of the concerns of, I believe it was Fair Oaks and Citrus Heights, that if we chose to really pump the groundwater again, we'd begin depleting that aquifer. But we tried to assure them we wouldn't do that, but we've already corrected it. Why we want to go back and harm it again? So.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Thank you very much for that presentation. We appreciate it. I assume we'll get updates as you go. I did not know there were 24 water agencies. It feels like I serve on all of their boards, though. So thank you very much for your great work.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Next item is very important to two of our commissioners. This is our sole business item. Madam Clerk, you want to announce this?
Sure. Item number 5 is announcement of Special District Commissioner and alternate Special District Commissioner.
Very briefly, let me just summarize for the benefit of the commission. First, open by welcoming our new members, our new commissioners, Commissioner Liebrig and Commissioner Moore. Lindsay has a 4-year term. Her predecessor did not seek office again. Commissioner Moore Charlie has a 2-year term in light of the resignation of the previous alternate special district commissioner. 2 years remain. So the decision and the direction of your commission was to true that up, fill the seat number 6 with a 4-year term, and continue to have full representation for 2 years. At which time we'll have the other special district seat will come open, and the alternate seat will be open for another 4-year term. So I'm happy to turn the floor over if there's any comments from the new commissioners. I'd also like to mention, and be very clear, we had an election, a selection proceeding, and then a runoff for the alternate special district commissioner position. Concurrent with all of this, your commission has a standing committee called the Special District Advisory Committee. We generally, we want to make very clear that the commission's business is done before we seek nominations to the Special District Advisory Committee. Because of the runoff, that kind of pushed this up against a little bit of time. We have issued a notice of nomination to all of independent special districts. That period is going to run through the end of February. The nomination has to be made by the board and ratified by the special district members who are standing members of the standing committee, and then approved by your commission. We'll be bringing that back to you ideally at your March meeting. That's all my
Okay.
comments.
Well, first of all, welcome. Is it Liebig? Okay, and more. Congratulations, welcome to the LAFCo board. Would either of you like to make a comment?
Very excited to be here, represent Herald Fire Protection District, small rural district representing 96 square miles in rural South Sacramento County, and very excited to be a part of this. I've been attending these meetings for many years, and so happy to serve in this capacity.
You must have ran a great campaign. You did really well here, too. Ms. Moore?
Thank you. I am also very excited to be here. I'm very surprised to be up here. I was an alternate, and I did not expect to be here on my first night, but here I am. I represent the Rio Linda, Alberta Recreation and Park District Special District Commissioner for LAFCo, and I have been active in many, many different areas over the years. I don't even know where to start. But I've always really been interested in LAFCo. I think that the governance of our local agencies is the most important thing that can happen for local governance, and I'm a very, very big proponent of local, local, local. So excited to be here, and thank you.
Well, we're thrilled to have you both, and I personally have to take this moment to say this is the only board I sit on that only has one male. And it is glorious. So thank you very much for that. Do we need to take action on this item, or just welcome these two lovely ladies and thank them for their service?
Yes.
All right, we're gonna have a great year. This will be a lot of fun. Glad you're here to join us. You too, Tim, we're glad you're here too. All right.
Perfectly happy being a token.
All right, very good. Item 6.
Item 6 is the Rancho Murrieta Community Service District Draft Municipal Service Review.
All right.
This item is presented in draft form for the consideration of your commission this evening. Rancho Murrieta is a community services district located in the eastern part of the county, unincorporated area of the county, formed in the early 80s to provide services in that it's in a rural setting, and the county infrastructure really was not in place to support the level of development the master plan community of Rancho Murrieta had in mind. So this evening, we do have Mark Martin, the general manager of Rancho Murrieta, happy to answer any questions you have. In reviewing this, it is a draft. The idea is to get the feedback from your commission. There's quite a bit of support material that we provided to you ahead of time electronically in the interest of saving several trees. So if there's any questions on any of that material, it is still posted on our website, and we can certainly circle back with any responses for you on that. Any questions on the document itself, happy to discuss that with you. Otherwise, I'd like to just introduce Mark.
Sure, and tonight the item is on for receive and file, but we'd love to hear some highlights from you.
Sure. Good evening. First of all, thank you for the patience of the commission in receiving this. There's been a transition of 6 different general managers over the last, since 2014. I've been with the district for 2.5 years now, and we've also had a large turnover of staff, where 7 of 9 have changed over since the time that I've been with the district. So quite a bit to get all this together, a lot of new faces, and looking for the information and to provide it to you. So again, thank you for your patience. So Rancho Murrieta is a very unique community, and the district itself provides a number of services. We are a special district, not a general government. A lot of, there's oftentimes confusion even by our own residents that believe that we're a town or a city or such. Our scope is water, wastewater, drainage, security, and that's a very unique animal, and solid waste, including recycling. On the water side, we extract our water from the Casunas River. We're surface water only. There are no groundwater wells within Rancho Murrieta. From November to May, we extract water from the Casunas. We have 3 large reservoirs where we direct that water for storage over the year. So you'll see numbers as far as capacity of those various reservoirs. That is not the total sum of volume that we can accommodate within a year, because as we're filling those reservoirs during the winter, we can also draw in more water and refill the reservoirs during the winter period. So our actual capacity is much greater than if you see what the capacity of the various reservoirs are. We have a water treatment plant, so I'm going to step through each one of these just briefly. Water treatment plant, you'll hear at times water treatment plant 1 and 2. They're at the same location, they're just different technologies. One is much newer than the other. One is sand filtration, old style, and the other one is a new membrane system that we have. There's good and bad of both types of systems. So we treat that water and then distribute it throughout the community. On the wastewater side, this is another unique aspect of the district itself. We recycle 100% of our wastewater. We have a zero discharge permit, meaning that we are not allowed to discharge any of our wastewater, even though treated, into the Casunas River. That means that we store and treat and then redirect back to the community 100% of our wastewater. And we've been doing that since 1988, actually one of the first entities in the state to do it for that long of a period. We've had no issues with the distribution of, as far as health issues, with the distribution of wastewater back. It's treated, recycled water. Literally the pond sits right behind our office. It looks just like regular potable water, essentially. That water, right now, 100% of that goes to the country club that we have. We have 2 18-hole golf courses. There was an agreement that went into effect 32 years ago that essentially obligated since we had zero discharge, obligated the country club to receive recycled water and obligated us to provide recycled water as much as we could provide and to take care of our full recycling amount. That agreement expires in 8 years with a 20-year re-up unless one of the parties or both parties agree to discontinue that. So we're very proud of that fact that we're able to that we're already recycling and conserving really by doing that. Beyond that, we've started to establish other infrastructure. We have a emergency disposal spray site, we call it, on the Van Vleck Ranch, which is adjacent to the district. We also are developing purple pipe recycled water infrastructure within the newer residential and commercial areas to receive recycled water once we have an excess available through additional development. So that's the water. The drainage and security are both special taxes. We're very limited on those two services as to the level of services that we can provide. They're Prop 218 special taxes. At the time they were passed in I believe 1988. It was 88 or 98. I'm trying to recall. 98, sorry. At the time that those special taxes, measures J and K, were passed, they were limited to 2% increase per year, and that really has not kept up necessarily with the cost of providing those services. We do our best, but we're definitely tight in both of those areas. Some of the impacts that we receive from not having a more strident budget with drainage, for instance, is when you have a new regulation, such as the state places upon us to test drainage waters. We had no budget for that, basically, but that's an additional regulation, a mandatory requirement, reporting requirement that we're being subject to. So it's just one of those things that we have to address over time. The security side, now this is where I believe we are unique in the entire state of California for a special district. Our security are armed security forces. The Bureau of Security, it's a state bureau that regulates them. They are trained and certified, so they know how to respond in various cases, but they are not traditional law enforcement. They cannot conduct an arrest. They can only observe and report, and then have a citizen's arrest if necessary in the case of someone's life being in danger. And that's why those firearms are there. And primarily the reason why security exists and the way the measure was set up for the 218 tax was to provide patrol services throughout the community, given how remote it is to the rest of the county, and access by, there is no substation nearby of the Sacramento County Sheriff's. It's all the way in Florin Road and 99. So it's to have some additional buffer there, patrol, just as a preventative, and then also we provide gate officers at 2 major gates into a majority of the community for 24/7 access to the community itself. Outside of those services, and those are the services that were identified to set the fees under the Prop 218 mandate, that's the extent that we have funding for, is for that level of services under security. And then lastly, on solid waste, we were contracting out to the county, and then at a certain point, the district went with a private contractor. We now contract with Cal Waste to provide both solid waste and recycling services. As far as our involvement related to, I know oftentimes there's a question about water and water resources. I serve as a board member representing Rancho Murrieta, had a 4-hour meeting this morning with the Sacramento Central Groundwater Authority. So we're very involved, even though we don't have a well, very involved in that process, because we see that water from a state perspective is becoming more and more unified as far as demands. They will say that water needs of the Delta and water being sent south, water that's coming down the Casunas is water that could be used potentially for some other use, including groundwater recharge. So we really see it as important for us to stay in that game. Also serve on the board of the Regional Water Authority. So Dan, who was just here, is also a board member on that. And that's all the water agencies in the entire Sacramento region getting together and talking about issues. He's talking about collaboration and cooperation. We're so remote at Rancho Murrieta that there really isn't much opportunity other than if we were to collect water and place it back in the Casunas River. That's about all we really could do. We're too remote for pipelines and other types of mechanisms that most water districts that are adjacent to each other could work together and perhaps share resources and such. So I hope that's a decent overview of...
First of all, thank you.
Sure.
It sounds like you've had to do a lot of this on your own, and thank you for putting in the effort. The item is on for receive and file today. There's a second piece to that, which it would be, if one of you wants to make this motion, to direct staff to distribute the draft municipal service review and the sphere of influence documents, both for review. But Mr. Lockhart, before I entertain a motion on that, and we have one member signed up to speak already, would this come back to us at a later date, or just for updates, or what would be the next step from here?
The procedure of the commission is to have an open hearing on the draft while it's still able to be questions asked and responded to. We would bring back generally within 30 days,
Okay.
depending on the level of complexity. We'll bring it back to your commission. We were targeting the March hearing. And at that time, there are 7 determinations that the commission is required to make, and as far as the operations, governance, and other specifics of the district. So that would be the item that would be, at that time, would be the same document as amended with questions raised here and by members of the public. It's on our website, it'll remain on our website for public review and comment. The final would come back in March. We have the determination spelled out for your commission. That's your final action, and we would then move on to the next MSR.
Okay, that would be good to walk through that process good reminder for me, but also for new members sometimes. And the other thing is, it struck me as you were speaking that I've been doing this for too long, because terms like purple pipe, I understand what you mean, but
Yeah.
if you guys,
Sure.
I don't know the area of expertise of the new board members, but if terms like that are escaping you, first of all, feel free to chime up here if you want to. And second of all, if, as you review this over the next month or so for the next decision, if you see terms like that and you're not sure what it means by the purple pipe
Sure.
recycled water, then you know, feel free to reach out to Mr. Lockhart, because he's really good at answering those questions, and know that we all do it too. So
Could I-
don't, if you're thinking it, probably at least two other people at the dais are.
I'd
So.
like to just add one other component to the overview that I provided, and it's an exercised function that is stated and that I didn't address, and that was public recreation. To be clear, we do not have a code section to implement public recreation, nor a funding source, nor staff dedicated to it. We do not operate or maintain parks. My understanding is the reason why that power was exercised was simply as a backstop in the event, and this is for the homeowners association, which represents about 90% of the population in the district. In the event that a developer would not pay their parks fees for the parks development within the homeowner area, the district was to be that backstop. That
I
is
see.
the sole function that the district has performed
Okay.
to date, and I just want to make that clear.
All right, no problem. Supervisor Frost.
Yes.
So Mark, I just want to say this is my first MSR, so I'm excited that it's with Rancho Murrieta, since I represent you folks. And I was also excited that everything looked very much in order, and it looks like you manage a good operation. I did have a couple of questions. My first question was relating, are you going to be doing the emergency fire plan? Is that part of, does that fall under your purview?
And I have tried to make sure that we stay within the rails of our scope of responsibility. So we are not an emergency operations function. We're not an all-risk agency like Sacramento or County Sheriff, County OES, CAL FIRE. And so with that, in my discussion of the resources we have from a security and how those fees were determined, the resources are not there to perform in that function for the entire community in lieu of County OES and the other all-risk agencies. We've had extensive discussions with County OES, Roger Ince at the County OES, and they agree that that's our role. The
emergency response is your role?
They agree
planning?
What they discussed was, thank you for clarifying that. What he agreed to is, and what he stated to us is that our primary role that would be expected of us by County OES is to focus our resources to reestablish the critical services that we provide, sewer and water. If facilities are damaged, we're a very small organization, and that
could impact your water if there was a major fire.
Correct.
Because it's
and
all open.
So we do have, the comment from County OES was that as far as providing services during an event, they'd be looking outside vendors for whatever equipment and other individuals they'd need to help with the emergency. As far as the planning side, again, we do have a planning obligation. It is for the facilities that we manage. Once we step into the role for the entire community, we are now assuming the role of County OES.
Oh, I see. So it's County OES.
County OES has
Okay.
that responsibility.
Okay.
And it's been a little difficult on our side with the homeowners association to make that point very clear. It's been made more than once.
Okay.
And so we're not there to step on the toes of OES. The homeowners association is trying to identify emergency collection
Right.
spots and all these other things, and OES clearly states that an emergency is so dynamic that going to that level of detail doesn't make sense. And so we are coordinating with County OES on this. But one of the things as the general manager at Rancho Murrieta that I've had to do is really make sure that we stay on the rails as far as our core functions. We are a special district with very clearly enumerated functions. It's not a lack of desire, it's a lack of, if we're gonna do that and perform the role that county OES should be performing out there, then we need the funding and staffing to do it. And right now we
Got
don't
it.
have that.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
and the authority. Right now we don't have that authority across the entire district.
It's all kind of new, so I was just trying to wrap my head around it.
All right, good questions. All right.
And I just had one more, and that was relating to the salaries and wages.
Yes.
You have 38 employees. Are they contract employees, or do they have benefits?
We're all PERS. We're a PERS agency.
Okay.
The unrepresented staff are union represented by OE3, Operating Engineers 3. The remainder of the staff, most of the management staff, are unrepresented.
Okay.
There's standard
so
benefits, CalPERS, and et cetera.
So the numbers that we're looking at, salaries and wages, includes all the benefits and pensions and
Correct.
everything?
Correct.
I
Yes.
noticed it was like 120,000 more from 2018-19 to 1920. Is it like that every year?
No. What that
Okay.
is we had a position that was eliminated in prior years. A very critical position was eliminated, and I insisted it be reinstated.
Okay, great.
And
Thank
so
you.
we had a director of administration that was reinstated.
Thank you.
Yep.
Good?
And one thing on the salaries too is, since we're not a sworn officer, public safety type service, so you see the security function, we don't have the 3% at 50 that cities and counties are
Right.
subject to under PERS. So we
Don't
don't
rub
have
it
that
in.
same
We
cost
know.
basis. So,
We got it.
yeah.
Thanks for all your good work.
Sure. Thank you.
All right. Lindsay.
Yes, I just want to commend you for this very thorough, detailed MSR. As someone who's put one of these together before for our own district, I know the amount of time and effort and work that goes into it, especially with staff overturn and board overturn and all of that. So I recognize the amount of work that goes into that and want to commend you for that. And also on your involvement in the SCGA board as a fellow board member on that board as well, it's important that even though you don't have groundwater use, that you're a part of the overall groundwater plan when it comes to that basin, and it's very appreciated that you're involved and so engaged in that process. My question's more on the next steps. Where is, and maybe this is for you, Dawn, who would be the reviewers for this? Is it going to be other CSDs? Is it going to be other water agencies? Since this is kind of a unique MSR, since they don't, have the traditional, functions like some of the other CSDs within the county.
Right, what we typically do, as I say, is it's posted on our website, so the public has access to it. We can route, depending on the order of magnitude, the level of sophistication necessary, to peer agencies. There's 3 CSDs in Sacramento County. Consume CSD, which is well removed, Elk Grove and further south to Galt. Their functions are fire and recreation and parks. They don't share, there's no crossover with the operations of Rancho Murrieta. And San Juan, which is commonly called San Juan Water District, is actually a CSD. Again, their sole function is conveying water, both retail and wholesale water out of Folsom Lake. So limited likelihood of them having much review capacity for the wastewater and public safety components. So what we will do is, I think, as a result of comments of the commission, reach out to county OES, get some clarification of roles there. Generally speaking, just make the county administratively aware that the MSR is out there. They're already aware of that. We've already had conversations. But now, if your action tonight is to bring this back to the March meeting, we'll give them a time frame to ask if they have comments to respond to by then.
Well, we do need a motion to direct staff to distribute the MSR and the SOI. Would you like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. You have your voting up in front of you. Just, Ms. Moore, press the yes check with your hand there if you want, or no, or abstain, or recuse, and then it'll count itself. All right. Another very controversial LAFCo vote there. Thank you very much, and thank you for your work and your presentation. That's all I have on my agenda, unless I'm missing something here. Questions, announcements? I think we're good. Madam Clerk, you have anything?
I would like to give the commission a heads up The LAFCo Statewide Association Staff Workshop is going to be in Orange County at the end of March. It's going to necessitate a cancellation of our April meeting, so we'll have our meeting in March, and then again in May, we'll bring you back the preliminary budget in March, and then the final budget in May, so keep us on schedule for the June adoption for that, and any other items that present themselves.
All right. Thank you for that. Seeing nothing else, having no speakers, we're done. Adjourned. Thank you.